Konbanwa, minasan. It is Friday, which means I am here to tell you about my classes. This term, and this is the reason many of my videos have been late, I'm taking 4 classes in Japanese. And it is one thing to study a foreign language on your own. It's completely different when the entirety of your day is in one language. It's interesting breaking and going back to English, and it's just kind of a different experience for me. It's not the same as being in the country and speaking the language, but it's still a different experience. First of all, I have my speaking class, and we are using the book Aozora, and I believe Noriko Fuji used to be at my university, so we continue using this book, and a lot of my teachers are the speakers in this book. It gets bad rep for the formatting, so if you see here, it's a nice box, and then the box doesn't end because it ends on the next page. That's an issue, but I feel like that's more an issue of the publishing side than the content. The content is difficult, but if you're in the upper divisions of Japanese, it should be difficult. I guess I just feel like the challenge is worthwhile because if it's not challenging, then how do you know that you're progressing, I guess. Next is I'm taking reading and writing in Japanese, and we have 4 books. We have Nihongo Writing, which is kantan desho, pretty easy, comparatively easy. We also have Nihongo Chukyu J501, which is a book I've looked at before. This one is really difficult, like to the point where Sensei told us don't give up today, it was that difficult. And then starting 2 weeks, I think we're going to start looking at this, which is Ikki Ni Yomeru, and I was actually using the lower division of these books to work on my reading because narrative fiction is, or narrative writing is very different than spoken or interview style, so that's kind of intimidating. I'm also doing a translation class, and we are all over the board in that class. We started out looking at Genji Monogatari and looking at the early texts as we have them, the modern Japanese editions, and then the 3 different editions in English. So looking at Arthur Waley, I believe, did the first one in the 1950s, 1930s. Sorry if I'm scrubbing the date there. And then Seidensticker did his in the 1970s, and apparently Royal Tyler did one in the early 2000s, which I have never read or even seen before, because when I knew about Genji Monogatari, it was probably about the time that was coming out. And for that class, I have to decide what I want to translate. So I have this, which is a book on Gyaru culture and looking back on how the cute things and how the Western got popularized and things like that, which is interesting. I also have this book, which is Chon Mage Purin, which won the Naoki Prize a couple years ago, I think. And it is about a time-traveling samurai who likes pudding, or pudding/flan, whatever you want to call that. And the book I will probably end up translating, which is Rockin' Read, which is a book of interviews with Japanese musicians and is actually interesting to me and is something I will probably continue to do after this class, which is kind of what he recommended us to do in the first place. Last class we were taking, and the reason I missed so many videos... Oh, come on, light. Classical Japanese. Haruo Shirane? Turbo, get down. Get down. I know so much more about Japanese grammar than I ever did before, and I am still horribly behind because we are looking at classical or literary or historical, or people don't really know how they want to translate bungo because bungo and kogo are very detailed forms, I guess, detailed words that are hard to explain, and it's just kind of sucking away my will to live. But I know that come December I will be much more fluent than I am today. and since I'm going to graduate with a degree in Japanese, at least, I should be more fluent than I am today. 私にはまだペラペラじゃないんだから。So yeah, that is what I am taking. If you have any questions about Japanese, please talk to me. If you do anything like this, if you translate Japanese interviews or articles with musical artists, either on Tumblr or I almost said back in my day on LiveJournal. It would be interesting to talk to somebody who's done translation for the fan community before, because I've been on the receiving end of translations before. I haven't really been on the, I don't know, what do you call that? Transferring of materials. And my video is at 6 minutes, so I'm going to say annyeong, and I will talk to you all next week.